So welcome to the Helix webinar series. Today's session is on Field Services Reimagined. We're going to be covering accelerating telco and energy ops with Helix ITSM. Delighted to have joining us today Mobile Reach. Let me introduce Nazrin Azari, our president for Mobile Reach. We have Alex Bussin, our customer engineer from Mobile Reach, and Francois Segers, product manager and solutions architect of Mobile Reach. Before I hand over for them to do their formal introductions, just a couple of reminders for those that are new to Zoom. We do have a Q&A section of Zoom, which you'll find at the bottom of your screen. If you do have any questions during this webinar, please put them into the Q&A section. And whilst they're not speaking, they will try to answer the questions during the session. And then we will also have roughly 10 to 15 minutes at the end where we will take your questions live. We'll also be launching a poll towards the end, just trying to get a bit of information around what field service management solution you're using. If you do get the chance, we'd love to hear back. And I know the team here today would be more than happy to reach out to you individually to help you on your journey. So with that, I'm now going to hand over to Nazrin, who's going to introduce herself and get us started. Over to you, Nazrin.
Thank you. Thank you, Samantha, for that nice introduction. And thanks, everybody, for joining us today. My name is Nasrin Azari, as Samantha mentioned, the president of Mobile Reach, and I'm really excited to kick off this session on field service management for BMC Helix. We will walk you through how FSM for BMC Helix helps organizations that deliver on-site services improve their operational efficiency and service quality. And to help me do that, I'll be joined today by Francois and Alex, who are actually going to demonstrate the solution. I'll start off with a brief overview, followed by a live demonstration led by Francois, who will show us how FSM integrates seamlessly into the broader Helix platform. And then Alex will take us into the field for a look at the mobile app experience for your field service technicians, highlighting our best-in-class offline capabilities. And then, as Samantha mentioned, we'll wrap up with a short Q&A session. So go ahead and jot down your questions, and if we can answer them as we're speaking, we will. Otherwise, we definitely will save some time at the end to get to your questions. So we built this product very specifically for organizations that are delivering on-site services to customers for maintenance services or managing assets. And we're targeting a variety of different industries, including telecom, utilities, and energy space, as well as manufacturing, healthcare, retail, and other areas. And typical services you'll find are installation of equipment, sort of like your regular maintenance contracts, sending folks out to different sites to perform that regular maintenance activity or repairs as needed, performing upgrades, and just general customer support. And so we built the product to basically kind of fill that gap in the Helix product infrastructure. And so we're going to talk today about how our product snaps really, really nicely into Helix and takes advantage of the data and the complementary applications that exist in the platform. I always like to talk about the things that are important to field service organizations, which are your typical key performance indicators, your KPIs, such as your first-time fix rates and field tech utilization rate. These are I know there's a lot of different metrics that people track, that field service organization tracks. These are ones that we hear time and time again, and we've specifically built some capabilities into our platform to help to ensure that when your field technicians are going to a job site to handle a particular task, that they are able to complete that task while they are there, that they've got the equipment they need, that they have the skills they need, the information that they need about what's happening, if it's an issue, or the history, if it's a maintenance or upgrade concern. So first time fix rates, we know that's one of the most important metrics that field service organizations track. And so we focus on trying to make sure that we can improve that metric for you. And then also your field tech utilization rate, so making sure that your technicians are spending more time on site working on various work orders than traveling from place to place or doing administrative work. So all of that all of the functionality that we include into our field technician mobile applications, for example, and in the kind of the whole seamless process are really there to improve your field tech's experience, their ability to do their job as quickly and accurately as possible and ensure that your customers are happy. So kind of focusing on first time fix rates and field tech utilization rate, we feel sort of feed into these other metrics as well. The mean time to repair, work order completion rate, SLA compliance, and customer satisfaction. So those are kind of the items that we've really focused on. I did want to mention, I know it's always good for you to hear, not just from us, but from our customers, folks that are using the platform. And so I'm pretty excited about this recent customer that has really just rolling out the product, but even so, even within the last couple of months, they're already seeing benefits from the solution. And so that's another thing that I like to highlight is that we've built a very good not skeleton product, but a very good sort of like initial default configuration in the platform so that the implementation time to implement the platform for your particular environment is pretty short. Like it doesn't take us that long to get the product up and running in your environment and configured for your specific needs. And if you want to learn more about that, we can chat about that. We won't have time to get into those things today, but you can certainly reach out and we'd love to have a conversation with you about your specific environment. So there are basically two roles in field service management. The first is what we call a dispatcher. And the purpose of the dispatcher is to assign work to various field technicians based on certain characteristics like location, skills, contracts, availability, all of those things. And so they're basically kind of the managers behind the scenes that are keeping track of all the work orders, all the work that needs to be done. If there's an emergency that pops up, they're the ones that are on the phone with the customer, making sure that we schedule in kind of in the middle of everything that's going on in the day that we get that customer serviced. And so they're basically responsible for managing work orders and managing field service technicians. And then on the field technician side, those are the folks that are in the field getting the work done. And so while your dispatcher works in Helix on various field service management consoles, the field technician works on a mobile device. And so they're going to take either a tablet or a phone out to their work site. They're going to travel with it in their truck as they go from place to place. And we want to make sure that they are traveling efficiently, entering data about the work that they're doing into their devices, and that we're handling all of the rest, that we're pushing all of that data into Helix, and so that they don't have to do all of their work during the day. And then at the end of the day, spend more time populating the system kind of manually at the end of the day. So everything is as real time as it can be. And then the other really important capability of our mobile product is that it works natively offline, meaning that we're a very, very robust offline experience for the field technicians, and we handle all of that data synchronization so that it makes it really easy for the field technicians to focus on what they're good at, which is the work that they're doing. So we're going to show you both of these components, and I'm going to hand it over to Francois now so that he can talk about the dispatcher side of the product and how it's integrated all into the Helix ecosystem, and then he'll also do a demonstration as well. Francois.
Thank you, Nazrin, and good intro, and thanks for everybody that can join the session today. As Nazrin mentioned, I'm a product manager, looking after field service management from a holistic perspective. What I'm going to take you through is just giving you an understanding of how the field service management fits within the Helix platform. On the far left, what you'll see is the entry points of where a typical work order will originate from. So with the Helix platform, with the AI ops capabilities of automating events, where those events from a specific device can trigger off automation remediation rules and fulfillment flows, and work orders can be triggered from your AIOps capability within the Helix platform. From a Helix business workflows perspective, looking at the fulfillment of workflows across industries, BMC obviously supports the workflow engines and various workflows within the business workflows capability and applications. And work order is a key fulfillment flow fitting within the fulfillment of a specific HR case or field service case that gets locked on the business workflows application. And then obviously ITSM, and then I've put down Control M as well. You might sit with orchestration flows within your organization, a service management application. Bear in mind that this is all on the Helix platform and they're all interconnected. There's no integration requirements. It seamlessly integrates with each other. So there's no additional integration requirements where you need to have a team to develop that. The work order management is a fulfillment workflow that sits within the Helix platform. We leverage off that work order capabilities in the platform. There's a couple of shared components which we'll demonstrate to you, specifically around Helix dashboards, which is supported by Kafka as Grafana, Grafana, which is the backend BI reporting capability. We leverage off that. Digital workplace where you initiate your service requests, triggering off the work orders that gets fulfilled by your field agents. And then obviously the service level management engine that allows you to create your service targets and your OLAs and underpinning contracts, etc., for the various work orders that needs to be executed by the field agent. Then secondly, we integrate tightly with the CMDB of the BMC Helix platform, as well as asset management. When we look at boot stock management within the field service management space, inventory management becomes critical because now you need to understand what stock is in that agent's boot. They need to book that in and out of the of inventory, and you need to track those assets, right? So you need to understand which location they're going to deploy those assets, and that's also available within the CMDB seamlessly. So whenever we track the assets that's been deployed by the agent, it's seamlessly integrated into your CMDB. So you've got immediate visibility when you want to log an incident for an asset of those components or those assets that gets deployed within your environment from a field service management perspective. A couple of features that we have is geotagging. So we immediately know where your field agents are. We send the latitude, longitude from the mobile device through to the field service management application. We do route planning where we can plan predefined routes for agents, specifically when it comes to maintenance schedules. We've got a leave management component because when someone goes on leave, obviously you don't want to assign a work order to that specific technician because he's not going to be able to deliver it. So it affects your lead time to repair and all those nice metrics that Nazrin spoke about. And then lastly, just around boot stock, as I mentioned, that's all handled within the application. Around the core components, knowledge management, document management, we use the out-of-the-box approval engine from BMC, assignment engine from BMC. So we sit tightly integrated with the Helix platform. Nothing stops a customer from buying the field service management component on its own on the Helix platform. So you're not dependent on these external and integrated applications. You can run field service management on its own. I mean, it's native, whether you want to deploy it in the cloud, whether it's AWS or on-premise. We support the standard capabilities from what BMC offer. From a multi-tenant perspective, if you are a MSP and want to deliver the field service management application as a service to your customers, something that's also available, you can set up multiple tenants using the same multi-tenant capability like what BMC Helix offers. And you can then set up multiple field service management tenants for your various customers that you onboard onto your MSP platform. Then lastly, we obviously then integrate into the mobile application via the mobile gateway, which Alex will do a demonstration of. So that just gives you a bit of a high-level view of the field service management application and how it interconnect with all the Helix applications that sits on the Helix platform. I think what's important also is that it's an open platform, right? So we can integrate other applications into the field service management application with the various integration mechanisms that comes out of the box. Thanks, Nazrin. All right, so let's do the demonstration. I'm going to share my screen. And then there's it. You see the map, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, perfect. All right, so maybe let me just start off with the Helix platform. So what you'll see over here is basically the Helix platform with all the services, microservices that you can subscribe to from a BMC perspective. And you'll notice over here that the Helix dashboards is there, Helix ITSM. And as I mentioned, these are all the solutions from BMC that integrate into the field service management application. When you navigate into, so with the partner ecosystem from BMC, as part of the innovation suite development environment, we can develop multiple applications as a customer. And I always say that the customer don't really understand the platform power that they buy from BMC, because you can develop your own applications that integrate with field service management and the rest of the stack of applications. When we navigate to the field service management solution, this is what you will see. You will see an immediate map of where your work orders gets done and where the actual field service agents are. So the blue dots are your field service agents. If you hover over them, you'll see the work order ID that field service agent are currently being attended to, the summary of the work order, the site, and then obviously there are other dashboards, and these dashboards are customizable. It is like the landing page for field service dispatcher to get a holistic view of where the work orders are, who has it been assigned to, and then obviously the status of the work orders, which are quite key. Then we've got the dispatcher has got a couple of tools in his toolbox to work with. When we navigate to the dispatcher console, we've got the work order assignments where I can assign work orders. We've got a user calendar. We've got user routes. We've got an FSM timeline where I can see my work orders on a timeline, and I'll show that to you now. We can look at the last known location of a field service agent. We can look at the location history, so we can actually see from a audit perspective what was the location that each of the field service agents visited to do their jobs. And then lastly, we can also see which users our field service agents are missing, right? It's quite key. Maybe they've taken the wrong route and we don't see them anymore. So I think, obviously that's very important. Then more tools that we have, as I mentioned, we can do various planning of routes. So we can do predefined routes. So you can create a new route, you can save that route, and then you can link those routes to schedules, right? We've got maintenance schedules that you can set up, and the work orders automatically generates, right? But in future, so if I set up a schedule for let's say in a month's period that needs to be done, then those work orders will automatically trigger off and generate based on the timelines of that schedule. Scanned items. So what we mentioned about inventory management, there are various actions from a checklist perspective. I can install, and I'll show that to you as well, is I can install assets, I can replace them, I can replace it with a loan asset. So there's various actions that I can execute on an action as part of my work order. And a work order obviously goes through an approval process. So as part of the work order flow, you can set up multiple approval levels, whether it's a business approval, whether it's an individual approval, whether it's an auto approval that needs to happen as part of that work order. So when the work order goes through the various intelligent assignments, we use various criteria to auto assign a work order to the right person. And as part of our optimization of optimizing the routes, which I'll show to you now, after giving you the holistic view of the console, we automatically optimize the routes. So when there's an ad hoc work order that gets initiated from a specific entry point, whether it's manual or automated from another application, we assign, the dispatcher can assign that ad hoc work order to a field technician, and we automatically then recalculate that route to optimize and support the metrics that Nazrin spoke about. Right, so if I go into the, let's look at the FSM timelines. So what you'll see over here is the field service management timelines. These are all the unscheduled work orders. So I still need to assign these work orders. Our field service management application works via the support groups. So we leverage off your foundation data. So if you are a BMC Helix organization or customer, then we leverage off your foundation data. So you don't need to load any additional foundation data. When I select the support group, the system then gives me all the users that's part of that support group and show me all the work orders that they're currently busy with. I'm looking currently at the workday view. I can look at the daily view. I can look at the weekly view as well as a monthly view. And I can drag and drop these work orders to various other placeholders or timelines. I can change some details of scheduling that work order. I can also do inventory searches. So when I schedule that work order, I obviously need to understand if that person that I'm assigning that work order to, whether that person has got inventory in his boot, because it's pointless if I assign the work order to a field agent that doesn't have the boot stock. So that's critical. And then I can save that work order. It's going to jump back now because I haven't saved it, but it will then save that work order and then assign it to that technician. So this gives me an easy way for the dispatcher of getting a better view of the work orders for my work day. All right. And there's obviously various filters here at the top. And I can look at my unscheduled work orders per support group. I'm not going to go into all of these, but you get the idea of using the timeline view to make it easier for you to manage and maintain your work orders and assign it to the relevant team members. When I look at the specific user, let's say Justin, I can also look at his user route that he's got for that day. So when I click on that user route, I can now immediately see the work orders, and I can also see the route that he's going to take. Now, there's various criteria how we optimize these routes using the priority classification, etc. And I can also see immediately the total travel time, the duration that he's going to spend that he did spend at site for some of the completed work orders, total distance he's going to travel, and the total duration, 18 hours and 5 minutes. All right. When I click on each of these, it actually just navigates me to that specific work order, and I can see that work order is going to be executed in the Calbro office in LA. All right. My durations are a little bit screwed because I'm sitting in a different time zone. So if my time zone was set correctly, you would have seen a much more accurate timeline versus the map that I'm providing you. So time zone is key. All right. So then when I navigate to the user routes, I can also go and have a look at the various routes for the various people and look at it's just a different view of what you see from the field service management timeline view. When I navigate to the route planning toolbox, I can go and create a new route, as I mentioned. I can look at my save routes. So these are all routes that was saved. Let's look at the Nevada daily maintenance. Which one must I? Let's use the Ileana, Nevada route. So over here, you'll see that this is a defined route, the duration to the site. I can also filter, so we're using the same capabilities as what BMC Helix offer. So I can go and remove some of these columns to see see it a little bit better. So over here you'll see that's the distance for that specific site, the travel time, the status of that route, whether it's done, whether it's a change up. So these statuses is also dependent on the route, whether it's new. And then obviously I can delete a saved route. Right, when I delete the saved route and there's related work orders to that saved route that has not been attended to, then they will go back into the pool and will be reassigned to the next team. So there's a lot of things that obviously need to be considered as part of the dispatcher. When we look at scheduled routes, as an example, if I click on Georgia, so these are all work orders so we use work order templates and we link work orders to a saved route. And when that schedule needs to be executed, then all of these work orders will automatically generate and assigned, and then the technicians can start working on these work orders. Right, I can also click on that and view the work order. And what you're going to see now is that we cross-launch into the Smart IT console. Now, this is the reconciled ticket console that's out of the box using BMC from the BMC Helix ITSM solution. It's a little bit slow, but typical. Let's just refresh that. Let me just navigate to the Smart IT console and we'll show you from different perspectives. So what will happen is when you click on that, it will launch the work order console, and you will then be presented with this view. So when we look at this view, these are all the work orders. So if I go and search for this 21652 work order on Smart IT, then you'll see when I navigate to this is where you see all the detail from the SLA, from an SLA perspective, which there's multiple tasks that I can create for a work order, configuration items that I can link. So over here, you'll see that there's one item that was related to this work order, and this comes from the mobile device. And this related CI or asset sits in the CMDB. If I'm navigating to the CMDB, you will also find it there. But this CI was related because the agent has now installed that CI at the relevant site. Then lastly, what I want to speak about is obviously we've got a scanned items order trail, all the items that's been scanned with their tags, their statuses, their models. We leverage off the product catalog within the ITSM application. Then, very important, there are scanner actions. Now, these scanner actions are configurable. So depending on the industry that you're in, whether it's oil and gas or whether it's telco, we can amend these scanner actions and configure the application according to your industry. The scanner actions, if we look at the scan workflow configurations, you'll notice here that all of these are currently enabled, but we can disable, well, this one is disabled, which is broken component original. So we can do audit inventories, we can audit sites. So if you look at the specific scenario where I have an asset management team that now needs to go and do audits within a site to get the relevant inventory, we can do that also using the mobile device to bring in all those inventory that we need to audit. And it might be that some of your inventory doesn't sit within your asset solution. So if you think of the additional benefit this offer, we can now use the mobile device to do the inventory audits. All right, then lastly, I want to touch on, so I spoke a little bit about the timesheets and the leave management, where we include the HR component in here. When this, let's say it's a lady or a woman or a man that's going to do the field service agent work orders, they might go on maternity leave, and then you obviously need to take that into consideration when you plan and schedule your work orders. Then lastly, very important, we've got checklists. So you had the term sign on glass. So on the mobile device, whether it's a tablet or a phone, you can get the end customer to sign on the glass for the work order that's been delivered. And we've got various checklists. We've got a checklist and post checklists. Let me just navigate to one of the templates. So you'll see over here that we've got a pre-work checklist. We've got a pre-complete checklist, an optional one if you want to have the technician to fill in other optional checklists, and Alex will show that to us on the mobile device. And then obviously, lastly, important is satisfactory survey. So if you want to get the end customer to immediately fill in a survey, you can ask those questions immediately. And these checklists are configurable as well. So depending on the industry that you're in, you can create your own checklist configurations. Right, so that in a nutshell is the field service management agent, the field service management application. There's obviously a lot happening at the back end. There's a lot on the roadmap. We are incorporating Helix GPT from a collaboration perspective as it stands today, which will be GA very soon, and specifically around additional capabilities around using further AI capabilities to assign work orders to the right technician. All right, Alex, over to you. Show us the mobile application.
Thank you, Francois. Let me get this going. Can everyone see my screen here?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can. I see also there's a polling running at the moment. So if the people on the call wants to fill in the poll, happy to do that. Sorry to interrupt you, Alex.
I was actually more interested in the running actually on the back of the beach.
Yeah, that looks tough there.
That's you.
Yeah, that's me.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Alex.
Yep. Thank you. I'm just what we're looking at here is I'm just screen sharing my actual device here. I have a Pixel 9 Pro, so we're running Android. What you're seeing is what we call the launcher page, and we have the FSM solution, as well as we also have this calendar. We kind of call these applets because it's kind of part of our client here. And I'll kind of go through each one and show you a lot of the features. One thing that we really try to emphasize is like during an individual implementation is that, you know, you may not need some of these features. They can be removed, or you might see something that's missing, and there's a good chance that we can actually incorporate that as well. So I'll just get started. I'm going to open up the FSM app. I've actually kind of already downloaded what we call like different cached record sets, essentially records from the various tables that we connect to. So I'm totally offline at this point, and you know, I can go out, do my work, especially if I know I'm going somewhere that doesn't have good connectivity. You know, I can still go out and perform my work without being connected. So what we're seeing here is just a list of different work orders that are assigned to me. You do have the option to change kind of the view here. You know, I can see a map of, and similar to what you saw on the website here, you can see the map of the work orders you have on that, you know, particular day. So this will change depending on you know, work orders assigned to you. You know, if a work order is completed, it's going to get removed from this list, so it's kind of condensed down. I'm just going to hit this top one here. This, you know, it's kind of in that orange state right here, but that just kind of indicates that it's assigned to me. Hasn't been started yet. And it's going to open up, and you're going to see the generic work order information. And you can kind of scroll through here. You're going to be a little bit limited initially for some things until maybe you start work. Francois mentioned the checklist in particular. If it's like a pre-work checklist, you have to complete that before you can actually start work. In this case, I'm just going to hit start work, but you know, there's different kind of requirements that can be implemented on the mobile side. You can see we have some read-only fields. You can see the schedule. Again, all configurable depending on what you need for your current implementation here. I'm going to hop over to the checklist here, which is just going to be that kind of top right check icon to kind of show you what that looks like. Here we just have one. It's a pre-complete, so basically it's required before you can complete the work order. If I just tap it, we have different drop downs, and the way you can actually configure it, in Helix here is the responses can actually be dynamic. So right now these are kind of just yes nos. I think there might be one or two of these. Oh, you can see replace. So depending on the question that was in Helix, they might have specific answers. So you could include more robust responses, as well as open-ended questions as well with open responses. So they could just type something in. This could be important for, maybe you have a job safety assessment. You require them to go out and fill that out, or maybe you require your techs to do some routine before they actually start work or something. So I'll hit save. You can see like it's kind of been updated. They get the check mark on that particular checklist. So I'm just gonna, let's see, I'll go back to, I'll actually go to the locations tab here at the top. It's just that marker icon, pretty standard. You can see kind of where you are and where the work order is as well. I can hit this directions button. This is actually going to open up the native mapping application that you have on your device. So in this case, I have Google Maps because I'm running Android. I can hit start and it's just gonna start routing me pretty easy here. So let's hit back a couple times. Yeah, so I think one of the robust parts of this FSM solution is obviously the asset management side. So if you hit the truck, it's supposed to kind of represent your boot stock. You can see these kind of three tabs here. We have my inventory, the site inventory, and the work order inventory. My inventory is kind of what's in your truck. It's kind of split out into what's in your truck, what equipment you have that might be faulty, or what equipment might be on loan. So with what's in my inventory, when I'm on site, I can choose to maybe install one of these. So you just click it. You can fill out floor, room. You can see details about that particular asset or equipment, and you can hit install. Then it, again, since I'm working offline, it just kind of says, hey, yeah, you installed that, so you're good for now. And then site inventory, you have a little, these are basically equipment that's going to be on site. Again, you can click it, you can see a little bit of information. In this case, you have an option to replace it just by hitting that replace button, and it's going to basically pop up a list of what's in my inventory that am I going to replace it with. So you're going to select it right here as opposed to kind of going back, or maybe that piece of equipment is faulty and it just needs to be removed from site, and you can just put it in your inventory. You can specify, is it a faulty or loan, fixed, or just a regular thing. I'll just hit that. There's also work order inventory. For this particular work order, it's empty, but essentially if it's basically equipment that's been specifically associated with the particular work order. So if it's already deployed, you could pull it into your inventory if you need to, or if it's a piece of equipment that's in your current inventory, you could click it and you could install it on site. So pretty useful kind of asset management, equipment management from a particular work order record. So I'll just kind of show you some other features. We do have, the camera icon basically allows you to take photos. So you just click the icon, you have a little add button here. It's going to pop up with, a little screen where you can just hit this camera here to take a photo. Just have the corner of my desk here, pretty exciting stuff. And I'll just say yes. You can kind of pick the size of the file. We can also default that to something if you want to. You'll see, when I hit save there, it puts in a timestamp. It tells you, where that photo is being taken, that long. That's configurable as well if you don't want it. Some clients may want it just to kind of have proof that, their tech was in a particular spot. You could write something for that photo there. And then a cool feature is you can edit it on the fly. So I just hit the kind of right icon. You can select the color that you're using, different thicknesses. I could circle it. You have different shapes and whatnot. So let's say I want to point something out, and you can do that. So pretty cool. So I guess just some other details before we kind of show you the signature part. We do have this information icon here. This will kind of give you some details we can add about, let's say you need client details, who to call on site. Some of the stuff is the same as the location details, but I think depending on the work order that would change. Head back to the home screen. We do have this we have the access to knowledge base. In this kind of demo, we actually are just pulling down everything from the knowledge base, but you can specify, we can kind of filter out certain knowledge base articles for a particular work order. Some of these are not applicable for like a work order necessarily, but we can definitely filter it out. So it is, and your field tech can actually use that information when they're on site. And then kind of the last thing here, we have you can enter work info. So I can just say tests, so I can just write something real quick directly from the main screen and just hit this add button, and that's going to create like a default work info record. And then if you hit the kind of eye icon there, you can see any work info records that are associated with that current work order. And just clicking onto it, it'll kind of tell you some information about it, what's going on. So yeah, and I think, let's see, lastly here is mostly the signature, which is, I think, a pretty robust feature. In this case, we can gather signatures for, let's say, the customer and the field tech. So, as I'm doing the job, I can hit field tech there. I'll just sign my name. It's pretty easy with the finger. And then you have the option to have a customer sign it as well. So if they're going to sign off on a particular work order, if you're, if you require that as like as a way to complete it, then we can add that. So if I hit that, I'll just sign it again. Let me just put this information in here. So what's cool about this is, sorry, Nazarene.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so what's cool about this feature, Francois kind of mentioned it, there's a satisfaction survey. So, we can ask it for the particular customer if they want to complete something, depending on if they like the work or not. They have the option. In this case, if I say yes, it's just quick for them to do. They don't have to really input anything other than, tapping what they want to see, and then hit save, and they'll be done. Yeah.
I was just going to ask you, Alex, there was a question in the Q&A about scanning, and I see that you have a scanning icon in the work order. Can you show them how to scan with how you would scan a barcode with the camera scanner?
Yep. Yeah. So Android has this kind of yellow red icon that you can see. It basically signifies that you can scan into that field. It looks a little different for iOS. I think it's a little smaller red icon. But yeah, it's pretty easy. You just tap this icon here. It pulls up the camera. I got this headphones here that will pick it up, and then this one it actually hops over to here. But if I go back to that field, you'll see that it's popped in there. And we do support some other kind of scanners that have like built-in scanning. Zebra, I know, is one of them. As also there's some like Bluetooth scanners that we also support that if you have to do a lot of scanning. Although, field techs out in the field, usually it's a little bit less in terms of scanning volume. But yeah, and as part of that too, we have the capability to kind of scan all sorts of things. We do have RFID scanning, QR codes, and then we can also, if something gets scanned and you need to, you know, cut it off or something, we have the ability to leverage just regex patterns and replacing certain things. So we can split different values if you know a certain pattern being scanned. So yeah, that's
And you can route patterned fields, like if you have asset tags, for example, that have a certain pattern associated with them, when you scan them in, they can route directly to an asset tag field, for example. And then, like as Alex mentioned, you could also take a scanned value and populate multiple fields with it if it's a complex barcode, right? That's what you were
yep,
getting at,
yep.
Alex. Yeah.
Yep, definitely. We've split them up, scan one item and split it up before to put it into multiple fields. Yep, we can definitely do that. So, a lot of capabilities there. I think that's mostly it. I think to finish work here, I think it just requires you to fill in some of the priority and resolution, or status reason, I think is one of them. So, I was able to put it in completed, and then I can save it, and you'll see that it's now green. It's in a check mark. I'm not going to sync this one now, but if you sync it, it would basically just disappear. And then that's mostly everything for the FSM. I know we only have like 10 minutes left, but I'll show you quickly what we have for the calendar app. I mean, it's kind of a basic calendar. You have your day, your week, your month, year. It's going to be color coded depending on the type of record it is. I can click on it, it'll open it up. This is, it's going to be green is, a work order record that's assigned. But as part of this, you might have vacation on here, this top one, leave requested. So you can kind of see exactly what you are assigned directly from the mobile device. You can also see a list view of it as well. You can add leave records. So just to show you real quick, it's pretty easy. You just kind of pick whatever is available for the drop down, the duration. So, if you want to only do half a day, you can input that stuff and kind of specify what you need and save it. And then when you sync it, it'll kind of go up there. But yeah, it's pretty easy to do that. So I'll just kind of leave it like that. If anyone has any other questions, or you want me to see something else, or if you want to see something else, just let me know. I guess back to you, Samantha.
Actually, I'm gonna take over for just a minute.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Go for it.
Sorry, Samantha.
It's okay.
Just to kind of summarize what we were just talking about with the mobile application. It is directly connected to Helix through the API. So there was a question about, does the mobile app run on the Helix platform? So the mobile application runs on either iOS or Android, and it will be directly connected into Helix through the API. So it's all directly connected. And in fact, all the data that Alex showed you on the screen, that's really pulled down from Helix. So all those data formats and the configuration data, the drop list and everything, those come directly from Helix. So if you change them in Helix, they're going to automatically show up in the mobile application as well. And so we as Alex showed you, he was running offline. So we automatically cache all of this data onto the device to enable the field technician to get their work done without needing to be connected to a network. And then Alex showed you on that photo how you can timestamp and location stamp the photos. And you can also do that for certain actions too. Like if you wanted to know, for example, when the technician hit start, you have a timestamp and a location stamp for when they actually hit that start work or complete work or whatever. So you can kind of keep track of, you can have an audit history even when the technician is offline. So that might be really important when you're tracking your SLAs, for example, is to know that the technician actually completed the work at 3:15 p.m., even though they didn't get back to the office and back into the network until 3 hours later. And they actually, so you can you've got that audit right there on the device for when they were working offline. And then all the data from a security perspective, all data is encrypted over the air and on the device. So we've gone through lots of very stringent security reviews. If you have any more questions about that, please reach out. And then we just touched briefly on the barcode scanning there at the end, but we do have quite a pretty extensive capabilities around barcode scanning, including the ability to use RFID scanners and kind of all that really neat functionality around smart scanning with patterns and being able to split up fields, etc. All right, and then I'm just going to finish up here so I can turn it back to Samantha. I know we're getting close to the top of the hour, and we've got some questions to answer. So in terms of what I consider the sort of the top 3 competitive advantages that our field service management solution has, first of all, is that it is, as Francois showed you, directly integrated into all of the Helix modules. So it really fits seamlessly into an environment where you're already using Helix functionality for other capabilities. Because of the way we've designed the product, the implementation timeframe is generally very, very quick. It's not a complete, write-up of all of these processes. It's really just tweaking the mobile applications, tweaking the workflow, maybe complementing the data. So it's really a very fast implementation for a field service management solution. And then I've definitely our mobile application capabilities, particularly with offline, and the customizability of that user interface and the user experience is definitely best in class and works really, really well for field service solutions. So that is all I have. Now back to you, Samantha, and
I'm sure we're going to have definitely a few more questions, but before we do, we've got a bit of a privilege of Sarah Copo on the call today, and I know that she's been taking all of this information in. We work very closely on CSP ecosystem, and she recently did a webinar, so telco is really her area of speciality. So Sarah, before I open up to everyone that's on this call, did you have any comments that you wanted to share?
Yeah, thanks, Samantha. Yeah, I was just looking at this, really very interesting. I thought, and okay, I'm specialized, of course, on telco. This is not only for telco, but for whoever has got like a need for like a field services. So, but on the telco, as you mentioned, we had a couple of weeks ago our webinar about the new service management product specific for telco, service management for telco. And this obviously this tool that we have seen today integrates with our service management for telco. And I don't know if there was somebody in the audience that was also in the previous webinar, but we also showed capabilities related within service management for telco to work orders. And today also Francois was showing, the work orders, so it's interesting work orders in service management for telcos. These are the ones that are dispatched to the FSM, okay? And as we know, these work orders are quite complex, as Francois was saying. It takes time to get it to a mobile site. It may the field engineer may follow a route rather than the other, and so on. And what I think is interesting to note is that because the two systems seamlessly integrate, they are both, and there was also a question about it on the Helix platform. The information between the work order in the service management for telco, so in the service management tool, and the work order that Francois was showing us, so on the FSM, they are basically mirrored. They talk to each other. And what does this mean is that the NOC agent, looking at the service management for telco tool, has got visibility of what's happening on the field, which is important because clearly, the resolution of an incident is related to how fast the field engineer is to go and do his or her intervention, as an example, on the site. So that's just what I wanted to mention. Kind of like really this adding visibility also in the NOC. Visibility to what is going on the fields because the two are linked together. That's just my comment looking at what Francois was showing earlier.
Thanks, Sarah. Great insights. And I don't know, Nazrin, Francois, or Alex, if there was anything else you want to add before I just leave the last few minutes for our guests to ask questions.
No, I think that's super. Thank you, everybody. I think hopefully the capability that we're trying to offer to the market is visible. Optimizing our field service agent operations is key with this solution. And the fact that it actually embeds within the Helix platform, onboarding the application is quite seamless. And rightly, what Sarah mentioned is that, from a telco perspective, and actually in other industries as well, is that with the NetOps play from a telco perspective, you looking at your alerts that comes in from your telco devices and seamless orchestration of that event through to the work order and assigning it to the right technician. That's all a seamless experience now using the CSP application with NetOps capabilities as well as the FSM stack. So, yeah, I think it's for us, we're very excited as a team to bring this to the customer base as well as other customers that look to onboard something like field service management. And I'll be here to run a journey with you. If you have any questions for us, we're happy to set up some sessions with you to enable you on the understanding of the application as well as the platform. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you. Okay, obviously for those that haven't finished the poll, do feel free to put some comments in. We've got a few people that have answered, so thank you for those that have already done it. I do see we have a question in the Q&A still, which is from Santiago, and if you're still there and you want to come off mute, feel free. So the question that Santiago had was just around the presentation and said it was interesting that BMC is reimagining FSM. One question they had was, in the FSM mobile app, is it possible to print a service delivery report on site?
So the user will have the ability to have the customer sign off in terms of actually printing. If there's a printer and a network and they can connect in, they could do it that way. Or if they wanted to have a mobile printer and take that mobile printer along, that's something that we could look at integrating with as an add-on to the solution that we presented today.
Yeah, just to add on that, Nazrin, real quick. We actually do have the capability to kind of create like a PDF template, and you can have fields from the particular work order kind of populate that template if you need it, and you can email it to anyone as well. So that is an option.
Yep, that's a good option.
Thank you, and hopefully, Santiago, that's answered your question. Feel free to either come off mute or just reply back into the Q&A. Okay, we are top of the hour, so I'm just going to do one more round. If anyone's got any questions, either raise your hand or come off mute. Otherwise, I will close the call.